Welcome back to Home Gym Hacks and Reviews. I'm in my brand new Powertec spare bedroom gym to review the Powertec Multipress. Stay tuned. If you followed my channel for a while, you may recognize this room as the old Ironmaster spare bedroom gym. But when I sold half of my home gym equipment a couple of months ago, I moved the IM2000 out into the garage, and I sold quite a bit of Ironmaster equipment, and I sold almost all of my Powertec equipment. Not because I didn't like it or because it wasn't good, but I needed to make room for additional equipment reviews. However, as soon as the truck was pulling out of the driveway with the Levergym, I had immediate seller's remorse. I had just sold my most versatile piece of home gym equipment and the piece of equipment that helped me build the modest YouTube channel that I have now. So after giving it some thought, I knew that it was time to get another Levergym, but I don't have a lot of room out in the garage, and that's when I decided it was time to take advantage of this empty spare bedroom gym and make a Powertec gym just in time for winter. On the coldest days of the year, the garage gets to about 40 degrees, and I did play with the idea of getting a split system to regulate the temperature out in the garage, but those are pretty expensive, and if given the choice between buying something like a split system or more equipment is going to win every time. Initially, the plan for this room was to get the Multipress and maybe the Powertec lat pull down, but when I thought about the Levergym and how it's basically a pull down machine and how versatile the machine as a whole is, and then when I thought about how much I miss the Levergym, I opted for the Levergym over a pull down machine. Also, I think it will be helpful to see the Multipress beside the Levergym because what one machine lacks, the other makes up for, and I feel like both machines can have their place in a well-stocked gym. This is my third Multipress. Back in 07 or 08, I got one of the old gray Powertec power racks with the high-low pulley from bodybuilding.com, and a couple of months later, I got what I think was the very first Multipress. It was gray, it had very few settings, and the arms were not isolateral, but I loved it, and it made me feel like I had hammer strength equipment out in my garage. Unfortunately, during one of my many moves, I sold it to make the move easier, but a few years later, I got another Multipress. It was the 2013 edition, and this was the first time the machine had isolateral arms, and it greatly expanded what exercises I was able to do, because at that time, all I had was the Powertec Smith machine with the high-low pulley. A lot of my creativity and exercise selection came from having only those two machines and trying to do DC training, which requires a lot of equipment. So ultimately, my second Multipress was the genesis for me creating my Levergym hack series 7 years later. I ordered the Multipress and Levergym on a Sunday. It left the Powertec warehouse within a week, and custom companies got it to me in about a week. I wasn't home for the delivery, but once again, my wife took care of everything, and as usual, she did a great job. Custom companies delivered this order in perfect condition, and whenever I have cash on me, I always try to tip the drivers. And then when I was getting home, it was an awesome sight to see all of this equipment in the driveway. Because all this equipment was going inside the house rather than in the garage, I had to use my scooters and roll each box to the front door, then lift each box up the steps. And some of these boxes were over 100 pounds. Once in the house, I put the boxes back on the scooters and rolled them into the bedroom. The Multipress consists of two boxes with a total shipping weight of nearly 200 pounds. The thicker of the two boxes contains the back pad and the bench frame. The contents were excellently packed with everything being covered in plastic and divided by styrofoam. The thinner of the two boxes holds the lever arms and the weight horns, again perfectly packed. There are only two hardware packs and the instructions are only 3 steps. Step 1 is simply connecting the bench to the upright. Step 2 is placing the axis in the upright and connecting both arms and weight horns. This took less than 30 minutes to assemble, and it was, without a doubt, one of the easiest machines I've ever put together. The machine is pretty compact with a length of about 6.5 feet and a width of about 4.5 feet. The height is only 3.5 feet. The arms have a max weight capacity of 500 pounds, 250 pounds for each arm. Each lever arm starts at 10 pounds, and there is a 20% weight reduction due to leverage, so 200 pounds is actually 180 pounds when adding back 10 pounds for each arm. The lever arms have 17 settings, which is a huge increase over my two older models, which had less than 10. There are 2 storage posts, which I may remove. The back pad has 9 positions from decline to flat to incline to upright. The bench's frame can travel horizontally in 9 positions. My older two Levergyms only had 2 horizontal positions. The seat has 4 positions, and the attachment tube can accept 6 different plate-loaded attachments, just like the Powertec flat incline-decline bench. I am still hoping Powertec creates a standing lateral raise attachment for the Workbench. The Multipress comes with 2 collars, which really aren't necessary because the 10-inch stainless steel weight horns are angled, And it comes with a very nice 34-inch knurled 1-inch diameter close grip bar. New to this machine, there is a welded ring on the back of the machine for one of the pins when they're not in use, and this is incredibly convenient. The end caps are branded, which is also a nice additional feature. The bench is 12 gauge steel, and based on my measurements, the back pad's 9 positions range from -15 degrees to 70 degrees. The bench pads are decently grippy, and when combined, they're 49 inches long, and the back pad is 13.5 inches wide at its widest point and 10.25 inches wide at its most narrow point. The bench is 19 inches high, about 1 inch taller than the Levergym, which is a bit high for me, so I counteract that by either putting my feet on the bench or by adding pre-cut stall mats between the floor of my shoes for improved leg drive. Any wobble that is experienced on this bench is the result of the horizontal function of the bench, because the back pad adjustment tube locks the back pad into place tightly. When the back pad is in the decline position and when I'm pressing, I don't really notice any wobble anyway. However, I am reluctant to place a lot of weight on one side of the pad because with the way the bench is designed, the support runs down the middle of the pad. So for example, I don't like using the bench for step-ups and placing all of my body weight directly on the edge of the pad, and when I do rows, I put my weight on the middle of the bench. I have read a couple of reviews where some people say, specifically on the older model multi-presses, that the bench didn't line up directly between the handles. This wasn't the case on my second multi-press or this one. I have exactly 5 inches of space between the handle and bench on each side, with 20 inches of space between each handle. And while I'm here at the handles, I will note that each handle is 7 inches long. For all of my Powertec products, if any of the pieces haven't lined up perfectly, 99% of the time it has been the result of something that I did wrong during assembly, and even with this new Levergym, I had to loosen a couple of bolts, adjust the frame, and then tighten everything back to get everything to line up perfectly. From a purely pressing standpoint, I think the multi-press comes out ahead of the Levergym, and I'll start on the decline and work my way up to shoulder press to explain why. The decline has an angle of -15 degrees, which isn't super sharp for declines, but it does feel effective, and I like decline better on the multi-press than on the Levergym because the lower pulley kind of gets in the way when doing declines on the Levergym. Next, the flat press is where the multi-press really shines over the Levergym. The press feels good and it feels effective, and with all of the arm settings, most users will find a setting that works for them. On the Levergym, the flat press doesn't feel as natural because the lever arms attach high on the frame of the machine at 44 inches compared to the multi-press's attachment site of 34 inches. Many times before, I've shown to make the Levergym flat press feel more natural, the bench needs to be elevated about a foot or simply face the other direction when pressing. Facing the other direction also works on the multi-press and adds another pressing option because the bar's trajectory is slightly different. There is about a 1 3/4 inch gap between the back pad and the seat when the bench is in the flat position, and that gap may be noticeable depending on how your body lines up on the bench when laying down, but the gap disappears as the bench is inclined. After the flat press, there are 7 different incline options, which is awesome for variety. All of the additional arm settings are also helpful if anyone is dealing with a shoulder injury, for example, and wants to decrease the range of motion by having the bar start from a higher position. I don't do a lot of overhead pressing, but when I had this machine previously, I found facing towards the arms felt better on my shoulders than facing away from the arms. In that last shot, you may have noticed a bandage on the back of my head. I had to go to the ER after assembling the Levergym, and I'll explain why in a later video. Unlike the Levergym, the multi-press doesn't have band pegs, but I could bring dumbbells in here and rig up bands like I show in Levergym Hacks Part 4. The multi-press could really be called the multi-pull press because it's good for a lot of back exercises as long as your arms aren't too long. When I put the bench in its farthest position in relation to the arms, I can perform a very effective lat-focused chest-supported row while sitting high on the bench, and if I switch to an overhand grip and sit lower on the bench, it works great for an upper back row. One-arm rows are also extremely effective. With the Levergym, I can add the angles 90 grips only if I disconnect the bench from the Levergym and use about a 1-foot spacer. If the bench disconnected from the lever arms, it would open up the possibility for a few additional exercises, but the entire frame of the machine would need to be re-engineered for stability. The arms also work great for shrugs. One option is to put the bench in its highest and farthest position and stand between the arms and the bench, or simply straddle the bench. Calf raises are another great option with the lever arms. I think the close grip bar works especially well for close grip decline presses. However, it does make getting in and out of the machine a little bit difficult. If you had a partner to put the bar on and take the bar off, that may make things better, but it is easier to attach the bar with no weight on the arms. So it's kind of a catch-22. The bar also works well for drag curls and because the bar revolves, it allows for a fluid motion. Also, I'm not much into upright rows, but it will work for those too. Another nice feature of the Multipress is the attachment tube, which can accept 6 different plate-loaded machines. I've had 5 of them, and I have reviews for all of the attachments except for the leg press and the lat pull down. When the leg extension is connected to the Multipress, the machine offers stability while performing the exercise. For example, if the flat incline-decline bench isn't connected to the Levergym or rack, the opposite end of the bench will lift up when performing heavy leg extensions. None of the settings on the Multipress are numbered, so I purchased the 4/10 of an inch stickers for the arm settings, and because the stickers will get rubbed off of the back pad's adjustment tube, I'll use a silver Sharpie to mark those settings. I also saw Paul Carter use these same stickers on his Levergym, and I used stickers slightly larger than this to mark the holes on the IM2000. In my logbook, I always write down my machine settings for each exercise, and knowing those settings in advance will save a lot of time. And I do recommend, if you get this machine or the Levergym, setting aside a few hours just to find the right settings for you for each exercise. The Powertec Multipress sells for $899 with free shipping, and when I take into account all of the exercises that can be performed on this machine, I think it's a steal. And there are commercial options and used options like the Paramount Total Chest machine, which is somewhat similar to this, but it's rare, hard to find, and if you do find it, it's pretty expensive. Whereas this machine will get delivered to your door and it comes with a warranty. Also, I'm really glad that this isn't a selectorized machine, because if it was, I wouldn't want it on these hardwood floors. I find the Multipress to be incredibly versatile and extremely easy to assemble. It would be nice if these arms converged, and maybe Powertec will do that in a later edition, but as it is, I think the machine is incredibly effective. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be on my 3rd one. And since having this, I've experienced 0 joint pain, and I've only had a sore chest. A couple of people have asked to see the Greyhounds because I haven't showed them for a while. Here they are. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please consider liking the video and leaving a comment. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I am an affiliate for Powertec and quite a few other companies, and some of my links can save you some money, so please check the description of this video, and if any of my videos or reviews have helped you, please consider using one of those links when you make your equipment purchases. You can find me on other social media platforms at Home Gym Hacks and Reviews, and remember, if your equipment lacks, I got the hacks. Take care, everyone.